ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति. We are in the chapter 6, Strength of Emotion. Basically, till now, if you recollect what we have done till now, this is the overall gist of it. The first chapter, we try to understand science and Vedanta, the scientific aspect of this knowledge, which is so important, especially because it's important for us to understand it technically, that the knowledge is technical knowledge. You have to understand it that way and apply it that way. In other words, it's like engineering or any medicine. You just don't pick up a book and start reading. It is not going to give you the understanding of things, right? So there is a structured way of developing the understanding and applying it. Similarly, Vedanta is a scientific knowledge, it's a technical knowledge, where these masters, this inner scientist, if you can say that, they discovered the truths of life and they reached out, gave this knowledge to humanity. So it is for us to take it scientifically, not because somebody is repeating, not because somebody is talking about its tradition knowledge, ancient wisdom, all that is fact. But when it comes to receiving the knowledge, it has to be with that scientific mindset, meaning that attitude to question, verify, apply. That attitude is important. That's what is science in Vedanta. Then he went on to talk about how all great men of throughout the world are talking great about this knowledge of Vedanta. Unfortunately, it's just not known. Sad to see so few people are benefiting from it. But the fact remains, the knowledge is not the problem. It is the understanding of the knowledge. So in the world we see where there's so much of war going on, so one of the thing which is a fact is that the only knowledge which can take care of all your problem is a fact of life. We're talking about people going into depression, children going to depression, getting to suicide, people getting into different relationship problems, people getting into so many varied problems at the individual level. Also at the macrocosmic level, at the world level, there's so much problem going on. There is one fundamental problem, which is lack of thinking, lack of intellect, lack of development of the intellect, lack of understanding of intellect, and lack of development of intellect. Meaning, intellect is a technical word, which means understanding, knowledge, thinking. In fact, the next chapter is talking about wisdom, which talks about intellect. Now, we are talking about any conversation, any discussion. The bottom line has to be to come to a consensus. If we are not able to come to a consensus, which means there is something missing in that equation. So think about it. The knowledge, the level of information we have in today's world, in terms of AI, in terms of multiple level of generations of AI is being upgraded. We are talking about the holistic education. We are talking about all that put together. Everything falls flat when it comes to application, which simply means there is something, a lacuna in the knowledge, in the information we have. Has to be. Otherwise, if the knowledge is not being applicable, there is a limitation. Of course, it's not complete. Either the knowledge is not complete, application means understanding is not complete. Either way, there is something wrong in the way we are functioning in the world. So here is a knowledge which gives us an understanding that a humanity can live in peace. There is no need to have conflicts in terms of family, in terms of children, in terms of society, in terms of countries. We don't have to fight against each other. We don't have to have agreeing with everybody. But That doesn't mean just because we have difference in opinion doesn't mean we have to fight. We have to have a conflict. It doesn't mean that. It's simply, if there is a conflict, it simply means lack of application of intellect, lack of development of the personality. And that's what we are talking about. So we talked about the real self in the first chapter. It talks about the acquisition, enjoyment, happiness, and material prosperity. Then he went on to say about the world and human being, where it distinguishes between the approach to education is faulty. It has to be from the known to the unknown. It can't be talking in the realm of the unknown. If we keep on talking with unknown terms, it may sound good, but it's not beneficial in long term. It's not help. So the purpose of education is application, transformation. If it is complicated, it will not be applied. How can it be applied? So it has to be simplified. So simplification is going step by step from the known parameters, known aspects to the unknown. That's how it should be approached. And then the composition of the world, where he talks about different aspects of the plant, animal, human being, then human species. Then he analyzes the mineral human. If you remember, that was a very interesting concept, where we see human beings but we see that they are not grown up. I mean, how can they be so harsh, so rude, um, so negative, as good as animals? So they categorize into mineral human, then animal human, plant human, and like that, human, which is a growth of a human being, which is development of the personality. Development has to be with respect to control on the personality, which is with respect to the control on the mind. Development of the intellect, control on the mind. That's what they're talking about. Then we discuss about three conditions of the mind: restless, imperfect, perfect. If you remember, a mind which is always disturbed, distracted, never at peace is called as restless. Then we have imperfect, which is relatively okay. Then the perfect mind is where anything can go wrong. A human is designed to be at peace. Nothing external can disturb. And then we get into life its course. We discussed about the goal of life, the purpose of life we should have, then the general code of living. We discussed about service oriented at the physical level. At the emotional level, we should be having purity of love, affection, and at the intellectual level, we should have pure knowledge, wisdom. And that's the element of right living. And then we went to three temperaments, a very important point. In fact, the very vital contribution of Vedanta, which is the three mental temperaments: sattva, rajas, and tamas, the three grades of the mind, the grade A, grade B, grade C. So grade A being the best of the quality of the mind, grade B being more of agitation with action, and grade C is the state of the mind which is heedless, reckless, no effort. So grade A. So grade C is no effort. It doesn't want to put effort. Um, Grade B, which is tamas. Tamas is like lazy, lethargic, indolent, heedless, reckless, that kind of attitude in life. Rajas is grade B, where a person is having that attitude of doing things, but there's a lot of I in the equation. So the work goes out of picture, the I is going highlighted. So it is, that creates agitation, disturbance. So there's the hurrying, rushing, worrying, that kind of attitude in life. That is the Rajasic grade B state, where there is effort with agitation. Grade A is the quality of the mind which is peaceful, calm, composed, serene, best quality of the mind. And if you have to explain in terms of effort, it's effortless effort. There is a grace in whatever is being done. No noise, no agitation. Whatever to be done, it's done. Move on. There is no highlighting the personality, individuality. All that is Rajasic personality. So a Sattvic person is one who is able to deliver most, who is able to optimize activity most, because of the entire personality is available. The mind is not disturbed. So because the mind is calm and composed, he is able to deliver most. And that's the reason he is being able to optimize his personality. So he is dynamic externally, internally, he's peaceful. That's the state of the sattvic person. That was the three temperaments. Then, based on that, olden days, good old days, we had a categorization of the society into something called as caste system. Very, very controversial because it was not maintained in the way it was being conceived of. So, caste system was designed as based on mental temperament. So there were four categories of who should be the teacher class, who should be the warrior class, protecting the society in the righteous way, and who should be the business class, helping the society in all transactions of material transactions in the society. And then was a labor class, doing the best they can in their own area of strength. Contributing, being service oriented, that kind of attitude. That was the Vaishyas, the labor class. That was a caste system based on the three mental temperaments. Then came, we discussed about in chapter 5. So now the sequence is the physical body, mind, and intellect, right? So at the level of the physical body, how do you perform right action? That is the exigency of action, where action is inevitable. We can't run away from action. So what happens in the world, innocently, ignorantly, people connect spirituality with inaction. I don't want to act. Spiritual means there is no action, which is not true. It is not renunciation of action, it is renunciation in action. While acting, how to be renounced, mentally detached while acting is the knowledge all about. So action is inevitable. That is not the problem. Action is not agitating the personality. What is agitating? It's the value of action. What is the importance you give to action? Why am I doing what am I doing? As long as that value is defined to be mundane, materialistic, selfish, self centered, it will agitate a person. Moment it becomes unselfish, selfless, genuinely want to serve and sacrifice, work for others, for society, contribute to the people around, and that makes it, that is the value you give to action. That's why you act in life. That is dynamic action. Then you are benefiting from action. Then it is a right action. So then we discuss about chronology of action, another very, very important, valuable message, thought in it. Any action is preceded by desire. Any desire is preceded by thought. Any thought is preceded by a vasana, which is the personality, the individual nature, unmanifested nature. So if I have to change the pattern, so vasana, thought, desire, action is the chronology of action. So if I have to modify or improve the quality of action, I have to go back to the desire level, go back to the thought level. So when I'm able to modify, understand, be conscious of my action, desire, and thought, automatically I'm in control of my execution of action. So otherwise, it is mechanical. I just keep on doing things. I don't know what I'm doing, why I'm doing. And that's why I start doubting things. That's why I need an astrologer, palmist, because I don't know what's going on. I'm not in control of my things, not in control of my actions. So since I'm not conscious of control, I don't know what is right and wrong. I don't know, is it going to be right effect or not? So I desperately go for whatever gives me solace. I push it on, no? That, okay, it's not me. You take care of it. But Vedanta says, you make yourself, you mar yourself. Your action decides your future. So you have an ability called as Purushartha, the self-effort in the present. What are the choices you're making? On what basis am I choosing? If I'm making the right choices based on my self-effort, understanding, automatically the effect will be right. I don't have to doubt myself. I will have the confidence and courage and conviction in life. That comes from knowledge. It is the stamina which you get through knowledge. Simple example, we mentioned in the session earlier, I saw a Nat Geo journalist. He was in the documentary, I saw him in the forest. He's lying down and he analyzes or he makes documentary on snakes. That's his forte, that's his strength. So this guy is lying down. He has a microphone and he's lying down and he says that there is a very poisonous snake around. And of course, the cameraman is away. And this guy is talking and he starts whispering that, I think I heard something. The snake is coming around and the snake actually comes. So he says, now I have to keep quiet. I can't be talking because the snake will respond. So the snake comes, the most poisonous snake. And the snake comes and gradually it comes closer. The guy is quiet. He's not talking. He's like in a log of wood, for all purpose. And the snake quietly, it goes on top and it gauges the surroundings, observes it, and it goes to the neck of this person, and then it goes to the other side and moves out. Now, the question is, how was he able to pull it off? How was he able to keep that control on his action, on his personality? No anxiety, no worry, no fear. How is it possible? It was the knowledge, it was the wisdom, it was the conviction that for all purpose, snake, unless and until it feels the threat from the environment, it will not attack. It's as good as a log. A log of wood, a snake is not going to attack a log because there is no threat. So he is convinced with it. We also may know it. We can go, but we can't control our personality because we are not convinced with it. Similarly, more we gain the knowledge, it is the everyday learning of this knowledge which is going to give us that conviction and courage to face life, to face the world. It is only then, more deeper you go, more convinced you are with this knowledge, more you understand. It's called manana. Manana means reflection. More we understand this knowledge, automatically it becomes transformation in our personality. That is the natural process. There is no effort required in that. So the effort required is in gaining the understanding of the knowledge. What are these masters trying to tell us? So chronology of action is talking about the sequence of action, and then is the renunciation in action. Once you understand what is the best quality of action, when you perform action with that attitude of renunciation, the best art is created when a person is completely absorbed in that art. It can be painting. The painter, the best quality painter, he is not worried about the time and who all are watching, how much will I be selling this painting for. He's not concerned. If he is that caliber, he just paints. It naturally comes through him. There is no ego, no selfishness in that action. At that moment, generally he may be having, but at that moment of painting, he completely dissolves himself. He completely dissolves his ego and selfishness, and because of that, it delivers the best of action. That's what is renunciation in action. While acting, he renounced that ego that I have to make it. If I don't do, who will do it? Oh my God, how many people are watching? Take it. That's not purity of action. Pure action is when it comes naturally, where you automatically, you don't have that kartritva bhavana. Kartritva bhavana means that attitude of I am the doer. The doership is not there. The nullification of doership makes it pure action. That is renunciation. Renunciation is not off action, like we said. It is while acting, you know that you can't do anything without the participation of so many people, without the participation of nature, everything put together. What can I do? So that attitude in life is called as renunciation. You renounce your little ego, understand being a part of the totality, do whatever ought to be done. Move on. Each spoke is the wheel of, when the wheel of life has a part to play. No spoke is big, no spoke is small. Imagine each one spoke and decides, no, I am the most important one. Spoils it all. So when there's an understanding, there's a harmony in life. And then he talks about the three types of action where it is selfish, unselfish, and selfless. We need to move from the core selfish, what am I getting? A meets B, only thinking of transactional benefit uh, for oneself versus trying to add value to others and whatever, wherever we are, whatever task we are involved in, having that attitude of genuine care, service, thought for others is what is unselfish action. And selfless is just doing what ought to be done. Now, then we are in the chapter 6, which is strength of emotion. Very interesting coinage of the word. Emotion becomes our weakness when it is uncontrolled. So, uncontrolled emotions becomes a weakness in the personality, leads to indulgence, attachment, agitation, cause for agitation. Right? Controlled, guided emotion becomes a strength, is evolutionary, and it is expressed moderately, intellectually, discreetly. So, strength of emotion is to do with how much control do we have on our emotions. What is the quality of our emotions and how much control do I have on the emotions? If I am not in control, I become emotional. Whatever happens, I just lose myself. So that is not a human life. That's can't be, you need to be in control of things. So that's where he talks about the first topic, emotion, intellection, where the intellect is what reason, logic, thinking guides the emotion. It's like the bank of the river guides the river. Without the bank, the river can just destroy the cities. It has no direction, no dimension. It can just do anything. It has no direction, no dimension. But when it is guided, when it is moved in a proper way, automatically it becomes a strength in the personality. So it is beneficial. We have the dams which is guiding this water, generating energy, electricity. Right. So that's what we mean by guided emotion becomes a strength. It's beneficial. Whatever we wish to do, it supports you. Other is drains you out. When the mind is not in control, it completely drains our personality. And we start blaming action, we start blaming the world, we start blaming others. Convenient. But when we understand there's nothing to do, nothing wrong with the world, if I'm agitated, the cause is me, then I start working towards it. And that is where start understanding my emotions and recognizing and guiding them. We discussed about the facets of emotion. That's where generally Swamiji gave few of emotions and said, what is purity of love? The first emotion being love. He said that when there is a pure sense of identification without any axe to grind, no expectation in return, a genuine concern for one and all, universal, it is love. Moment it is preferential identification, understanding, which is conditional understanding, it is attachment. Love plus selfishness is equal to attachment. Attachment minus selfishness is equal to love. So, moment there is a genuine feeling of identification with one and all, automatically it changes the color, the texture of that emotion becomes purer, and that is love. Then he explained about kindness, which is a genuine compassion for others, that benevolent attitude of the mind, no intention to harm. Then we talked about pity. It can become a weak pity, a very weakness of a personality, where people start to live for others' opinion, others' emotion, not making, I can't make other people unhappy. So for that reason, I keep doing things, and in the bargain, I become weaker. That's not what is identification. Do what ought to be done, understand everything has a reason, and whatever I can do, I do it in my best way possible. That is pity. Then we had discussed about charity, which is a very beautiful emotion. We discussed how, uh, if it is done rightly, it can be beneficial for oneself and others. It is evolutionary for oneself and others. So, in one of the text scriptures, it talks about charity as a right place, right time. Desha Kale, he says, right place, right time when you give to a person, that is true charity. That comes through understanding, right understanding. So you genuinely, so charity doesn't mean giving. Very loosely is taken as a material giving, you give things. In fact, there are times when by not giving, you're giving, you're doing charity, because a person may use the resources for something negative. You understand that, and you try to help the other person by not giving something physical, something material. So automatically by doing that, you're helping the person. So charity can be at the physical level, physical service. You actually help the person. Can be social work, or in different ways you perform charity, or it can be at the emotional level, at the intellectual level, or it can be at the spiritual level. More you learn, more you gain knowledge, understanding, more deeper you go in your personality, better service you can render to society, to the world. It was one Christ, one Mahavir, one Buddha, one Krishna was enough to reform or change the perspective of the world, right? So we don't need masses. We need one person who's evolved, who's self-realized, and can inspire the rest of the world, society, community. So we need to reach that by through our study, reflection, understanding. What is different between Christ, Krishna, Mahavir, Buddha, or any great master and any one of us? They have used the resources as a human being, and they have reached the human perfection. We all have the same resources available to us. Question is, how do we use it? What are we engaging those resources in? If we are interested in the material prosperity, name, fame, power, position, it is it is impermanent. We need to understand it is ephemeral, it passes on, it goes on. So we need to put that resources in something which is important, valuable, long term. That's what is meant by spirituality. Spirituality is about having that growth mindset. So, how do you have the growth mindset? By developing ourselves individually. How do we become a better human being? And that's what is defined in the next chapter topic. So, effects of manifestation is talks about that we need to be discreet. Here is a very interesting topic where it says root of emotion, where it explains that every emotion comes from the root, which is desire. So, if I have to be in control of the emotion, I have to be in control of my desires. Right? And that can come only through a higher goal, a higher purpose, and ideal. When I pitch up a higher ideal, automatically the desires becomes the quality of desires improves, the quantity of desire decreases. It's like a pyramid. So in the lower strata, there are too many desires, selfish, self-centered personality. Moment we start progressing in life, what is progress? When we have a higher goal, a higher purpose. What am I doing? Why am I doing? I have a reason, a purpose defined for myself. Action has to be service oriented, benefiting others. So when we have that kind of mindset, automatically that action is no more desire in action. Earlier it was, I want it, so I get it. Now it is not that because I want it to have to get it. It's a bigger purpose. Arjuna was fighting a war in Mahabharata. If you remember the Bhagavad Gita, the text, Arjuna is fighting a war. It's not because he wished to fight a war. It was a righteous war, a war which was taking care of all the unrighteousness in the society, removing the unrighteousness. That is higher ideal, higher goal. A sportsman can be playing just for the entertainment part of it, fun part of it, or he can be playing for the country. It's ideal, is a goal, a purpose behind it. Or training youngsters, inspiring youngsters for the sports. A musician can be singing just for the fun of it, or he can be singing in terms of inspiring the next generation, or delivering the best way possible, so that it can help the other person to be peaceful, happy. So at any level, even whatever we perform, why am I doing? What am I doing? That defines the goal, and that's what is this. If you remember, we discussed, and that's where we ended in last session. It's a very interesting portion which we are talking about. So, if I am at the level of selfish and self-centered way of living life, for me, growth is start thinking for family, 4 people, 5 people. Important point is growth is subjective. You can't say, see, a person we see, a very, very, he is very family oriented person. And everything he's doing for his family, he has no agenda, he has nothing to gain, he has no expectation, he is selflessly working only for his family. Whatever said and done, he's only doing for his family, nothing else. Now, that is not growth as far as that person is concerned. It's very subjective. So if I am at the level of the family, I can only think of 4 people. For me, growth will be thinking of community. How can I contribute to a larger set of people? What can I do? Same action, how is it helping a larger number of people? Society, community. So automatically that becomes a higher goal, a higher ideal. Higher is defined by number of people benefiting. If I'm automatically, I am thinking in terms of the community, I am doing whatever can be done, and wherever I go, I'm only thinking genuinely for the community. For me, that is not higher. I am stuck at that level. So higher will be, I work for country. Why only one community? So I start thinking, I pitch up a higher ideal. And the higher ideal is, I pitch up, how can I contribute for the country? What can I do? How can my action add value to the country? If I am at the level of country, what is higher for me is humanity. Why only my country? New Zealander is against the Japanese, is against the Chinese, against the Indian. Why only one? So that attitude is working for the humanity versus for living beings, all beings. How can I contribute? What can I do? So this is higher. Desires is a natural state, but giving a direction, a purpose to desire is what we're talking about. Right? So here we are saying, when you entertain an ideal in life, your desire is directed to the higher, then desire for the lower goes away. Thus raise the ideal, as illustrated, from oneself gradually to family, to community, to the world at large. So if you follow the thought flow, we are saying root of emotion is desire. Now, how to be in control of desire? By pitching up a higher goal and higher ideal, a purpose in life. Automatically, you are in control of your desires, right? And that is evolution in a human being. So then he says, the unrelenting law of nature is that you get what you deserve, not what you desire. So what happens is we keep desiring, we keep increasing our desires unknowingly, not understanding that by doing that, I'm only creating more agitation, because it is the unfulfilled desire which creates agitation. So, how do I achieve? By becoming deserving. How do I become deserving? By doing the right action. The moment I perform right action, when the cause is right, the effect has to be right. It's automatic. So the Holy Bible states, seek and it shall be given to you. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. This is the law. It's a great message to humanity. Seek the kingdom of God. Seek the self within. Everything seeks you. So when you work for the highest, automatically everything comes to you. It's given to you. It's like when you work for the government, the country, automatically everything is given to you, provided to you. When you work for yourself, you have to look into every aspect of life. So it's a very beautiful poem by Olive Tree by S. Baring Gold. It highlights two hermits planted saplings to grow olives. They needed olive oil for their prayers. One of them took charge of the plant, prayed to God for rain, for sunshine, for frost. God granted them all, yet this plant eventually perished. While the other hermit left the plant to God's care, asked for nothing. It grew well and yielded abundant olives. So is it with life. Everything in this vast universe works meticulously by some mysterious power. The human intellect cannot conceive it. How the infinite beings and things orchestrate into the melody of existence. One ought not to disturb this harmony by one's personal egocentric preferences. If you choose to assert your ego, then that unknown power seems to hand over the reins of control to you. You then lose its grace. Whereas you surrender your ego to that unknown scheme of nature, you would receive the sovereignty, its sovereignty. The poem, Olive Tree. Said an ancient hermit bending, half in prayer upon its knee, all I need for midnight watching, I desire an olive tree. Then he took a tender sapling, planted it before his cave, spread his trembling hands above it, as his benediction he gave. But he thought the rain it needed, that the root may drink and swell. God, I pray thee, send thy showers, so a gentle shower fell. Lord, I ask for beams of summer, cherishing this little child. Then the dripping clouds divided, and the sun looked down and smiled. Send it frost to brace with its tissues. Oh my God, the hermit cried. Then the plant was bright and hoary, but at even song it died. When the hermit to a brother sitting in a rocky cell, thou an olive tree possessed, how is this, my brother, tell? I have planted one and prayed, now for sunshine, now for rain. God had granted each petition, yet my olive tree had slain. Said the other, I entrusted to this God my little tree. He who made it knew what it needed better than a man like me. Laid I on him no conditions, fixed no ways and means. So I wonder not my olive private, whilst thy olive tree did die. Sabine Baring Gold. So this hermit planted, so there are two hermits, like somebody explained here, two hermit planted olive for worship, for prayer. Now, what the first hermit missed out is surrender. He took it on himself that he will take care of the olive tree. He believed that he knows what the olive tree needs. So he asked for rain, he asked for summer, sunlight, he asked for frost, everything was given. But end of the day, the plant died. And the poet says, when the hermit brother, so the other guy in the rocky cell, highlighting it is unconducive for the tree to grow. In spite of things being unconducive, I have planted one and prayed, now for sunshine, now for rain. God had granted each petition, yet my olive tree had slain. In spite of planting in the unconducive terrain, the olive tree thrived. And that's what he was surprised to see. And he asked the hermit, what did you do different from me? That my tree, though it was in a conducive place, it did not grow. I did whatever could have been done. I asked for whatever it required, but it died. And you, how did you make this happen? To that, he said, I entrusted, the other guy said, I entrusted to its God my little tree. I surrendered this tree, the plant, to he who made knew what it needed better than a man like me. A very, very powerful, beautiful. You can remember it, you can memorize it. He who made it knows it better than a man like me. So that attitude in life, that there is a higher power who knows what is right, what is wrong, what ought to be done, what ought not to be done. So, what is my obligation? Where do I come in? Where is my action coming in? Where is my effort coming in? I do the best and I leave the rest. That is surrender. So, whatever I think is right, with all good intention, with all good attitude, all positive thought, I perform the action. It starts there, it ends there. There is no expectation from that action. I perform the best of the action without any expectation, and that is pure action. And that is surrender. Moment we start expecting, it's a transactional action. It's no more a surrender ridden, dedicated action. I take care of my child because my child will take care of me. That's a transactional action. I take care of my child because I'm obliged to do that. It starts there, ends there. That is a pure action. So, moment I'm able to perform the pure action, I am not agitated and the child is taken care of. I am also taken care of. That's the beauty. He who made it knows it better than a man like me. So that attitude is what he is talking about. Laid I on him no conditions, fixed no ways and means. So I wonder my olive thrived, whilst thy olive tree did die. So we go to a temple or a church or a mosque asking for favor. If you think about it, what is missing in that equation is that we believe what is right, we believe what should be done, and we tell God, you know what, this is how you should conduct yourself, handle the world. That's not surrender. Surrender is, a devotion is when you know whatever is done is right. There is no, you don't doubt it. You don't question the creation. There is a reason, there's a purpose, there's a bigger scheme of things. I don't understand it. To that, I surrender. I do whatever I can do and I surrender the rest of it. That attitude in life. So he says, seek and it shall be given to you. So I do the right course of action and it will be given to you. Don't worry. It shall be knock and it shall be open to you. It says in the Bible. So The philosopher of America, Henry David Thoreau, enjoins whatever we leave to God, God does and blesses us. The work we choose should be our own. God leaves alone. He says that if you surrender, God, He drives. When I take the charge, no, I want to drive. He gives you the key and says, drive. Go ahead, do the needful. He is not interested. So he leaves you alone. You lose his grace. That's what it implies. If God may have a better plan, but I don't understand the bigger plan. So I start complaining about things. So the root of emotion is desire, how to understand your desire, improve the quality of desire, and in the end, he talks about surrender. Do whatever ought to be done and surrender the effect of it. That is the purity of emotion. Then the next topic is desire wins the self, the last topic of this chapter. Your self within is supreme, it is divine. You are the supreme self. The divinity in you is presently obscuring by desires. Cast away, eradicate all your desires. You regain the divinity. Human minus desires equals God. So the equation is human minus desire equal to God. In other words, if I want to become that reality, if I want to reach that human perfection, I need to remove the dependency on desires. In fact, in different religion, desires are being highlighted as a negative aspect. In Christianity, desire is referred to as Satan. Islam, Shaitan. Hinduism, Asura. Buddhism, Mara. Zoroastrianism, Ahriman. So every religion is highlighting this aspect of desire being a negative aspect, something which is stopping us to reach our real identity, our real true self. God, we are. Self, you are. Reality, you are. Why you're not able to understand that reality is because of it's obscured, it's covered, blanket by the desires. So that's the reason they highlight it as something negative. All religion is highlighting it as a negative aspect, which has to be overpowered. In other words, if we get carried away by desires, our actions are not in our control. It becomes desire in actions. It creates further desires. If you remember, we discussed earlier, it's like bacteria. It's like desire referred to as fire. When you keep on putting logs and logs of wood, it increases more. There's no sample of fire which says I had enough. So not only that, it keeps on consuming, it asks for more, and it grows like bacteria. Very interesting. COVID, if you remember, one small virus, not even seen by your eyes, is big enough to put on hold the entire world. Can you imagine the impact of the virus? One small virus, the impact, the entire world is standstill. We could have never imagined if it would have never happened to us. It's possible that everybody is entire country, entire everybody is at home. They're not functional. Nothing is moving. Just because of one small virus. What we're trying to say is one desire is enough to destroy the personality, destroy the world. And that's the reason they're highlighting it. Satan. In fact, the story goes Christ was being tempted by Satan. He says, "Get thee behind me, Satan. I'll have none at thy hands." So It's an indication to say that we need to be in control of our personality. The action cannot be driven directly by desires. If it is, then we will not be in control. And that's what he's saying. That was earlier. So if we are having, how do you control desires? By giving a higher purpose, a higher goal. So he says, human minus desire equals God. In the process of eliminating desires, you must ensure they do not reappear in another form. Desires cling to you. A very important point he's making here. In the process of eliminating desire, so the process of growth, the evolution is you direct, guide desires, you eliminate desires, and that's how you progress. We said the quantity of desire. When you progress, how do you know that you're growing? When the quality of desires are better, quantity of desires are reduced, which means desires are eliminated. Right? Here he's saying, in the process of eliminating desires, it should not change the type of desires. In other words, I have desire for drinking alcohol. Right? Now I stop drinking. Now I pick up smoking. So I then understand, no, it's not right. Smoking is also wrong. I stop smoking. I pick up tobacco leaf, tobacco or something, some drugs. Now I'm not eliminating. That is not called elimination of desire. I'm the same level. I'm just dropping one, I'm taking another. So other problem starts growing in. So it is important that the point is I need to be consciously directing my desires. If I'm not doing it consciously, there's a chance that the desire can take another form. That is not progress. So go back to the earlier the diagram. This is what we're talking about. Progress is defined from one circle to the higher circle. That is growth. When I'm thinking only for myself, for me, growth will be to think for family. If I'm thinking only for family, for me, growth will be thinking for community. This is the shift of level is growth. Right? Now, if let's say I'm thinking of community, I move from one community to another community. That is not growth. That's what he meant by saying the desires are taking another form. So it's not eliminating a desire. I'm not grown to the next level. So I'm still at the same level, but my desires have changed. Some other community I'm working for. Doesn't matter. It has to move to higher level, country, humanity, and the rest of it. So desire clings you. You may feel sure of having erased a desire, but it finds its way back in some other layer of your personality. Thus, you may have got rid of your passion for material wealth only to slip into a passion for a name or a fame in the world. People get into social work with that understanding or belief that it is higher. Now, it is higher. It is definitely better than thinking for oneself, selfish and self-centered. But what am I doing? Why am I doing? Social work is not what the society needs. It is social consciousness, what the society needs, which will be impactful. Remember, we said, deeper you go in your personality, more impactful you are for the society. So social consciousness comes from growth, spiritual growth. So when you grow spiritually, you inspire the society, automatically each one is inspired to do what they're obliged to do. So we don't need social work. We need social consciousness. So I can get into social work for name, fame. I was doing some thing for myself, material thing. And now I got into something, I feel that it is a good thing. But It was only how many people are watching, how many people have benefited. I'm counting where all I'm being, a newspaper I'm coming, articles I'm writing. All that is only for my, the focus is me. That is not growth. It is the desires. We need to understand how deadly these desires are. And that's why it's being personified in religion as something so negative, so destructive. So we need to be consciously attacking desires, working on it. And that's what he means by a passion for material wealth only slip into passion for name and fame. You drop 100 copper coins to pick up a silver coin. That will not bring you any nearer to Godhood. You unveil your divinity only when you have clean dropped all your desires, banished your selfish ego. You cannot do it in halves. You must give up the last grain of desire. There is no other way of it. That is the price you pay for regaining your divinity. So, the desire is the cause for agitation, desire is the cause for problem. It is the ungoverned desires which creates the fundamental problem. So, it has to be guided, it has to be directed, it has to be eliminated. That's the direction. So, moment we are able to do that, automatically, that is growth, that is progress. So, it is the desires which is veiling the self. So, we need to remove the veil, and that is what we are talking about with knowledge, with understanding, with light of knowledge. You automatically remove the veil of desires, and then you reach the divinity. So it cannot be just you give up one and pick up another. That is not uh, addressing the desires. You have to actually understand how the desire works, be conscious, be careful, and clean drop thinking about yourself. He says, it's a very beautiful saying. It is going to come in the later stage where it's a quotation where it talks about clean drop thinking about yourself. That's what Swami is referring to. You can't do it in halves. Desires are so powerful. If you don't do it completely, it has its way to come back like a virus. Unless and until you remove that completely from the system, there's a chance for it to fight back again. It grows in the personality. Similarly, desires are very, very powerful. So we need to be conscious, careful, understand our desires, and guide them. And as we progress, automatically it drops. So the concept is higher you go, lower automatically falls. So you don't have to drop the lower desires. In other words, if you go back to uh, the this the when you're moving from oneself to family, oneself is also part of the circle. When you're moving from family to community, it's not that you're dropping the family. Family is also part of the subset, but your focus is on serving the community. Your focus is on serving the higher. You prioritize the higher. Lower is no more impacting. When you prioritize, you're working for country. When you prioritize that, lower is taken care of. It's not bothering you. So that's what is meant by growth. That is growth in the personality. So desire where's the self. So how to handle desire is by consciously choose to have higher goal, higher ideal, and keep moving towards it. Automatically, we are able to have more clarity of our personality. That is growth in our personality. Thank you so much.